Tonight, growing conflict in the Middle East. Explosions rock Tel Aviv as Iran retaliates to a wave of Israeli strikes. And what role the U.S. is playing as the two sides trade blows. Plus, how Canadians are reacting here at home.
We need peace with the neighbors.
Iran is a rogue country.
Critical clues found in the Air India wreckage and what the sole crash survivor saw.
Emergency door is broken. My seat is broken.
Canada prepares for protests at the G7 summit. Also, a tribute to the legendary voice of the NHL.
Look at Lemieux! Oh my heavens! What a goal! What a move! Lemieux! Oh baby!
The chance to own a slice of hockey history going under the hammer.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the dramatic escalation in the conflict between Iran and Israel, with both sides exchanging strikes. Iran firing scores of missiles aimed at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, most of them intercepted, but some are getting through. Medics say more than 30 people were injured. The counterattack coming just hours after Israel launched blistering attacks on the heart of Iran's nuclear and military sites. Iran's UN ambassador says 78 people were killed and more than 320 injured. CTV's Judy Trin starts us off.
Iran retaliated with drones and ballistic missiles. Most were shot down by Israel, but several people were injured in Tel Aviv. The counterattack came after Israel unleashed its weapons, aimed at destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities and triggering regime change.
Standing up for your freedom from an evil and oppressive regime. It has never been weaker.
The decapitation strike took months of planning. Video shows Mossad spies detonating drones inside the Islamic Republic before 200 Israeli fighter jets blitzed the country. Top military commanders and nuclear scientists were among dozens of Iranians killed. At the United Nations, Iran's ambassador said hundreds of others were also injured and accused Israel and the U.S. of working together.
The most dangerous and terrorist regime in the world, with full intelligence and political support from the United States regime.
As demonstrators in Tehran rallied in support of retaliation, Donald Trump warned Iran to limit its nuclear program. The United States makes the most lethal weapons in the world, and Israel has a lot of it. There's still time to make the next already planned attacks come to an end. Just do it before it's too late. Other world leaders urged restraint.
It was a unilateral action by Israel, so I think it is crucial for many allies, including the United States, to work as we speak to de-escalate. I know they're doing that.
Mr. Prime Minister, what do you make of the attacks between Israel and Iran?
We're monitoring closely.
Later, Prime Minister Mark Carney posted that Iran's nuclear program has long been a cause of grave concern, that the government was working to protect our nationals and diplomatic missions in the region. He reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself and ensure its security. Benjamin Netanyahu says this attack will last for days until there's confidence that Iran will no longer have the capacity to build a nuclear bomb. Iran insists that it's enriching uranium for civilian purposes. Heather.
CTV's Judy Trin for us in Ottawa. Thank you. U.S. officials say its military is helping Israel defend from Iranian missiles. Military analyst Glenn Ignacio explains why.
When they launch these ballistic missiles, they have to launch it over the Syria and Iraq area where we do have troops. And unfortunately, since Iran originally threatened the U.S. as well, we don't know if those missiles are coming towards those troops, the American troops, until we get an understanding of what the targeting or at least where the missile's heading. So regardless, we have to protect those. At the same time, we did give a big defensive net to Israel in the prior attacks. And so I definitely see how we were going to participate in that. And I know the U.S. is trying to hold a little distance about being offensive in that nature. But we did know about it because you saw probably so many days where we did non-combatant evacuation operations, where we were pulling non-combatant folks out of the Iraq and that theater. So we knew about it. We're defending our troops as well. And I do believe that we're going to extend some defensive nature to Israel as well.
People here in Canada with ties to the Middle East are watching very closely as the tense situation evolves. The conflict stirring a lot of emotion for those with connections to Israel or Iran. CTV's Adrian Gobriel on how they are reacting tonight.
Fixated on the news coming out of his country of birth, each update heightens the anxiety for Iranian grocery store owner Kovos Hozanzadeh.
We need peace with the world.
Peace is now a commodity in short supply in the Middle East. In a nearby Toronto neighborhood, some Jewish community members are sharing their unwavering support for Israel's latest military mobilization.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, Iran is a rogue country.
The world is a safer place without Iran having access to nuclear weapons.
What are Iranian lives worth?
Iranian-Canadian Samira Moyedin has lived in self-exile ever since she left Iran in 1999. Fearful of the regime in power. She's also been vocal in speaking out against Israel's repeated airstrikes on Gaza and believes we're already witnessing similar civilian casualties in Tehran.
I should be able to talk about the fact that I don't want my fellow Iranians killed, and yet at the same time be able to recognize the crimes of the Iranian government. These two things can exist.
I'm the Iranian Zionist.
That's the label Iranian Elaheh Jamali says she's received for supporting Israel's military operation following the October 7th attack. The activist says she's had to go underground in the UK for months at a time, claiming she's now the target of Iranian proxies. She takes no issue with Israel bombing residential buildings.
When heads of states like the Islamic Republic, when high-profile people like that live in a building, all of those residents are part of that regime, which means all of those residents are partaking in the hostage holding of my nation.
Can you imagine if somebody notorious or nefarious was living down by the lake here in Toronto in one of those high-rises, and somebody thought it's okay to go after them and bomb the entire building? We're not dumb. You're not going to bomb us into freedom.
One common ground we heard from everyone we spoke with today is their belief that an end to the current regime in Iran would be a positive step forward for that region of the world. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
A group of Canadians is among dozens of activists detained in Egypt as authorities there try to crack down on a protest in support of Gaza.
And officers here are taking people's bags. They are trying to force people onto buses to be able to send them back, at the very least, to Cairo. I'm not sure what happens after that.
Activists from 80 countries were trying to march to Egypt's border with Gaza, protesting restrictions on humanitarian aid reaching the Palestinian territory. Organizers say they're ready to go on a hunger strike if forcibly taken to the airport for deportation. Global Affairs says the Canadians are in Egypt at their own risk. It is yet to be seen whether the current developments in the Middle East will change the agenda at next week's G7 summit in Alberta. Meanwhile, police are preparing for all kinds of protests. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee.
Signs of an approaching G7 summit. Military aircrafts hard to miss. On the ground, the streets of Calgary becoming a stage for protesters. This small group, the first to gather for the G7 summit, urging state leaders to pay attention to issues in Africa.
Canada was behind some very impactful initiatives on maternal and child health, and this year it's not really on top of the agenda.
Another organization came together, participating in a forum, calling for debt and climate justice. In the days leading up to and during the summit, hundreds of people are expected to protest. There are 3 designated demonstration zones in Calgary, including one at the airport and another in Banff.
These are zones where people can come and lawfully, peacefully, and safely demonstrate.
Thousands of police officers, RCMP, military, and security personnel have been deployed across the city, Kananaskis, and Banff.
Should people endanger others or, engage in lawful behavior, we're prepared to deal with that as well.
Experts believe the protests will be peaceful, but clashes in the United States over President Donald Trump's immigration raids and heightened tensions in the Middle East mean the potential for things to get heated at rallies here.
There will probably be some of them are more aggressive in their tactics. There's still very little danger of a serious violence breaking out.
Violence like the riots in Italy at the 2001 G8 summit left one person dead and hundreds injured. As for protesters here, no matter how many end up coming out, the G7 leaders will most likely not see them since they'll be meeting in Kananaskis village, which is more than an hour's drive from here and completely closed off to the public. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
And CTV National News will have full coverage of next week's G7 meeting live from Alberta. Meantime, final preparations are underway in Washington for tomorrow's major military parade honoring the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary on what also happens to be Donald Trump's birthday. More than 6,000 soldiers, 50 aircraft, 150 vehicles, and dozens of horses will take part. 200,000 visitors are expected. Protests are also expected across all 50 states. Angry protesters surrounded moving buses outside an immigration detention center in New Jersey today, trying to stop their loved ones from being transferred out. The facility has been at the center of a showdown over dismal conditions for detainees. Authorities say the unrest led to 4 inmates breaking through a wall and escaping. Still plenty of questions for Boeing and Air India as investigators comb through the crash site of Flight 171. All but one of the 242 passengers on board were killed. CTV's John Venevali Rao on the investigation and what we're hearing from the lone survivor.
At the crash site, investigators have only just begun to piece together why the Air India jet struggled to climb so quickly after takeoff. Reviewing a pair of videos of the disaster, and reportedly both of the plane's black boxes have now been recovered. As relatives of so many victims try to come to terms with what happened.
All of us at Air India are devastated by this loss.
Of the 242 people on board the Boeing Dreamliner headed for London, only Vishwash Kumar Ramesh survived, astonishingly walking away from the crash. Ramesh was in seat 11A in an emergency exit row. Today, he said he thought he would die, but opened his eyes, unbuckled his seatbelt, and says he spotted a space to crawl out.
Emergency door is broken. My seat is broken. Then I see the pace little bit. Then I will try to come out. I'm not jumping. I just walk out. Then ambulance coming in.
He says moments after takeoff, it felt like the plane came to a standstill. He could feel the engine thrust increasing to go up, but the plane crashed.
Did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes. A little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
Incredibly, he only suffered minor injuries while everyone else perished, including Nirali Patel of Toronto, whose husband and other relatives are now en route to India. A candlelight vigil was held in Brampton, Ontario, to pray for her and the other victims. As for why the plane only reached an altitude of 200 meters before descending, experts say the engines and flap position will be looked at. The pilot was a veteran with more than 8,000 hours of flying experience.
We don't have the slightest idea what happened here. Not at all. Obviously it's a terrible tragedy.
A tragedy in which Ramesh lost his brother and can't believe he alone survived. John Venevali Rao, CTV News.
A student who was supposed to be on that Air India flight says she is grateful to be alive and shocked by the tragedy. Bhumi Chauhan says bumper-to-bumper traffic saved her life. She had her boarding pass to return to the UK after a vacation and says she missed the flight by just 10 minutes. Back here at home, the sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior hockey players has come to a close, and the decision is now in the judge's hands. Closing arguments wrapped up today in a case that revolves around whether the complainant consented to sexual activity with the 5 men in a London, Ontario hotel room following a Hockey Canada event 7 years ago. Today, prosecutors argued 2 cell phone videos of the complainant should not be considered evidence that she actually consented, in part because they were recorded after the incident. The judge is expected to deliver her ruling in the case on July 24th. Coming up, welcome wildfire relief.
I've never seen the neighborhood sort of come out into the street to celebrate that fact.
What's helping firefighters on the front lines? Plus, a heads up on why these birds are on the attack. A community near Vancouver has likely never been so happy to get rain. It didn't amount to much, but the weather is now cooperating with wildfire crews in Squamish. As CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson reports, RCMP are now taking a closer look at how the flames ignited in the first place.
In one of Canada's wettest communities, rain is not noteworthy, but right now even a brief shower is enough to bring joy to a town that has spent a week threatened by wildfire.
We even saw rain last night, and I've never seen the neighborhood sort of come out into the street to celebrate that fact, particularly in Squamish.
The rain didn't last long, but cooler weather and higher humidity is just the break firefighters have been looking for.
We're expecting, with the weather forecast we've been receiving, that we're going to make good progress.
About 200 homes are under evacuation alert. 5 helicopters are working on the fire, which came within 100 meters of some homes, but has since grown in the opposite direction. RCMP are zeroing in on where it started. The majority of fires burning in BC were caused by lightning, but there were no strikes in this area Monday when flames first appeared near a popular mountain bike trail, sparking a lot of speculation online.
We are seeing and hearing a lot of information coming from social media where people are providing information. What we would ask is if anybody has that kind of information, doorbell cameras, any kind of footage, any information at all, please contact the Squamish RCMP detachment.
We spoke to one man who was among the first to spot something wrong.
I got down near the end of the road and I'm like, damn, that's a fire. I should phone. So around 4 o'clock, I called 911, and it was this little teeny fire. And I don't believe what's happened since then.
If investigators confirm this fire was indeed human caused, they'll also be looking into whether someone was careless or criminal. The person responsible could face a serious fine and even be forced to pay for firefighting costs, which can be thousands of dollars per hour. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
A proposed class action lawsuit accuses Uber Eats Canada of charging customers hidden fees. The statement of claim filed against the food delivery platform in Ontario alleges that an additional service fee is hiding within the overall delivery costs. Uber describes the fee as something that fluctuates based on the customer's order size before any discounts are applied. A Toronto-based law firm says this misrepresents the actual cost of the app's delivery services and is an example of drip pricing practices. Bikers from across North America are in Port Dover on this Friday the 13th for one of the largest bike gatherings in the country. It began in 1981 as a casual ride among friends and is showing no signs of slowing down 44 years later.
Look out, look out!
Red-winged blackbirds are at it again. The annual and annoying attacks causing a stir among residents in a Toronto neighborhood. Experts say the birds are very territorial and are defending their babies. So keep your head up. Still ahead tonight, the inspirational story and ultimate goal behind this extraordinary technology. Canadian rock band The Guess Who is reuniting for the first time in over 20 years following a lengthy legal saga. American woman, stay away from me. Founding members Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman will perform songs from the band's beloved catalog on a Rock Legends cruise next February from Fort Lauderdale to Jamaica. This comes several months after settling a lawsuit with original members winning the trademark rights to the band's name. Some amazing technology has given a former Humboldt Broncos hockey player a new perspective.
It's fun, and you get to stand up again. Forget how tall you are.
Ryan Strasnitzky demonstrated the Exo Motion, a robotic exoskeleton that runs along a 12-meter track, allowing him not only to stand but also walk at this facility in Calgary.
It's incredible to do anything like hands-free, getting to hold a hockey stick, throw a football, brought back a lot of memories and made me really hopeful for the future to see where this exoskeleton can go.
Ryan was on the Humboldt Broncos bus 7 years ago when a crash killed 16 people and left him paralyzed. Researchers hope the exoskeleton will assist people with spinal cord injuries and other conditions, including Parkinson's disease.
Dribbling the defense, he's in a goal! Scores! Holy mackerel!
Joe Bowen, the longtime legendary voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is hanging up the mic after the 2025-26 season. Bowen has stick-handled play-by-play duties for the team for more than 40 years. Still ahead, a hockey legacy unmatched. How you can own a piece of Bob Cole's personal collection. We leave you tonight with an exciting opportunity for hockey fans and collectors to own a piece of sports history. Timeless items from the personal collection of Bob Cole are up for auction. Organized by his family as a tribute to the late sportscaster, CTV's Garrett Berry takes a look at some of the unique treasures.
A signed pair of Wayne Gretzky gloves and a stack of Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em tapes. This collection, a look into Bob Cole's illustrious career, like all of these press passes and media books that propelled Cole to the heights of his power. The voice of Saturday night for so many Canadians.
His tenacity was something that, I don't know if you can learn that. It's something that he might have been born with.
Each of Cole's 4 children have already laid claim to many of their favorite items, so this auction, for the rest, is part of saying goodbye and sharing Bob's memories with the world.
There was probably 4 people from coast to coast who were not watching the 2002 Olympic gold medal game. So even if you weren't a hockey fan, people knew his voice.
It's not just pieces of career accomplishment on display here. There are also some deeply personal items like Bob Cole's Frank Sinatra collection or his Mafia book collection.
Organized crime was one of Cole's personal interests. In fact, he was convinced that a man who he had a bit of an altercation with outside a Boston hotel in the 1970s was a wanted suspect.
They were given VIP service into their hotels and huge fruit baskets. And then they looked on the news and saw the face of the guy that they had tussled with was a wanted mafia man. So there was like a message saying, we know who you are and we know where you are.
The auction will surely draw the interest of hockey fans and collectors from coast to coast, all of whom can bid online. Bartlett's auction house is already seeing a spike in web traffic.
This resonates with a much larger crowd than just the local Newfoundlander. There's obviously appeal here as well, but we'll have 150,000 people on our site.
The auction will run until Tuesday evening. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Some amazing hockey history there. That is our newscast for this Friday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.